Okay, so we have another one of the One Piece canon couples videos that I've been doing. And, finally got some out in Valentine's Day, or in February, in regards to that, so that's fun. Okay, so, as you saw by the title of this is talking about, dead love. Now, this does not mean that, like, oh, the romance has gone from this relationship. I put this as either one member of the couple or both members of the couple are dead. And as you can see by the thumbnail, I got Doflamingo, or Homing and his wife, and Law's parents, and Hirogoro and his wife. So let's kind of start with the ones that we kind of learn about, kind of going in the order a little bit. So first off on this list, we have Don Quixote Homing and his wife. We've never gotten her name. As far as I'm aware, we never even got their ages in regards to how old they were when they died. And her name, no, Oda has never given us her name. Oda never even named the Law's parents either. But I mean, like, they're around for one flashback, so there's not really much reason to name them. But I guess I don't know. But what we see in regards to them, in regards to Homing and his wife, obviously she loved him enough that she followed him away from their life of being celestial dragons, of Tenryubito, of having everything handed to them on like a diamond encrusted golden platter, by slaves and everything. And she loved him enough to go with him to live among the commoners. And either that implies, well, I'm kind of go with like this implies one of two things. We don't necessarily know the kind of the hierarchy among the celestial dragons in regards to, well, we know that like Ima is at the top, and then there's the Gorosei, the five elder stars, and then we have just all the rest of the celestial dragons, and they may kind of be on like equal footing with each other, but within the dynamics of like families, we don't know if it's the bloodline always remains with the father type of a thing, and like they may intermarry, but it might be like, oh, the daughter of this king, this bloodline married into this family, so now she is considered a member of this family over here. So like his wife may have come from just one of the other houses of the Tenryubito, and like married into the Doflamingo house, or the Don Quixote house, and is now just considered a member of that house. Or it could be the inbreeding thing. We don't know. That, well, just considering how long they've been up there, and they probably didn't add to their genetics all that often. Yeah, they probably didn't add to their genetic pool all that often, so there's probably a lot of inbreeding going on with them. Yeah, that's disgusting. But one of the things that we do see is it could be the fact that, like, oh, the men may be the ones in charge, so she may not have had much of a choice whether or not to go with him. And it may just be like the whole, the Stepford housewife type thing, where she's just like, I just do whatever my husband says type of a thing. He wanted to go and live among the commoners, and I had to go and do it regardless of whether or not I agreed with them or not. We don't know exactly what that went, but I would assume that she, agreed to go with him. Otherwise, she could have possibly decided to stay with like her original family and like try to keep her sons with them. Keep keep Doflamingo and Rocinante with her instead of letting them go with their father. But we don't know that much about the dynamics in regards to that setup of the celestial dragons. And even if so, it may have been like her original family may not have wanted her back to begin with, because, oh, your husband wants to leave Marijois for some reason, and go and live among the commoners. Crazy idea that he has. You get a choice. You can go with him or come stay here. But if you go with him, we ain't gonna come and get you if something bad happens, type of a thing. And from what we see, it's of course Doflamingo, Homing decides, let's just tell everyone that we're former celestial dragons. Bad idea. Don't do that. Just tell them that you're very well off. Don't tell them that you're former celestial dragons. That's a stupid idea. Because we all, we saw the result of what happened with that. The family got, kind of crucified to a degree. The husband and the sons did, Humming and the boys did, and they ran away and they had to live in the shack, and their mother got very, very sick. Obviously, I went over this in both the Father's Day and the Mother's Day videos when I talked about Doflamingo and Roshanate's parents, when I talked about them there. Pretty much kind of going over a little bit of this, rehashing this a little bit, but it's, Homing tried calling the celestial dragons and basically saying, okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I was too naive, I'm sorry, just please take my wife and sons back, just take them back so they're safe. Obviously, the world nobles didn't do that, otherwise Doflamingo would have grown up on Marie Joie, and their mother probably wouldn't have died, because they would have been able to just hire the best doctors in the world to be able to, well, hire/force, one of the two. Force the doctors to, make her better and everything so she doesn't die. But obviously that didn't happen because, she dies, and, Homing is just he's very, very sorry for what he put his children through. And he's like, I'm sorry that you had to have a father like me and everything like that. And, that's just very sad. And I'm sure that, Doflamingo looks back on his parents. I mean, like, his father, he's the one that killed his father, but I'm sure with his mother, he very much misses her. And Roshanate definitely misses both of them. But, we don't know exactly what else would happen with the parents. There's fan art that's adorable of, like, the boys all grown up with their mother, and she's just, like, doting on them and everything like that, which is adorable. Or like the family together. But I would say that Homing and his wife definitely very much loved each other, but unfortunately things didn't go well in that setup. So moving on, we now have Law's parents, who we know neither of their names. The only other member of Law's family that we know the name of is Lainey, who is his sister. And unfortunately, all three of them are dead because of the white lead syndrome, the amber lead syndrome. And, the government of Flevens just coming in and saying, oh, just wipe everybody out, where, oh, this is a plague, and the world government helped us, it's a plague, and just kill everyone that's there. Because the world government is such a great and joyous deity to have watching over the world of One Piece. Well, okay, the world government overall, the concept of it is fine. It's the Tenryu Veto and the Gorosei and Im at the top that make it much more corrupt. And I'm pretty sure that there's several other countries out there that were like, oh, we'll just, like the evil Black Drum Kingdom with Wapol and such that are just horrible kingdoms. But there's, we know about the good kingdoms as well, Alabasta and Water 7, who's technically not a kingdom, that is an island in itself, Dressrosa and Fishman Island, and a couple of other places, kingdoms that we know that are probably much better to their people than the way that some of the other world government countries work. But back to Law's parents, pretty much the only background that we get about them is that they are both doctors, and that one of them comes from the D clan, and I believe that is his father comes from the D clan, because he said the D in his name came from his father, and that the water, because his name is Trafalgar D. Water Law, and the water came from his mother's side of the family. So we don't know what that means. Eventually that might get explained at some point, or it might just be something that, like, maybe Oda answers that in an SBS at some point in time, because it's like, I can't make it fit into the story. This is what water means, so why is that his name? But they're both doctors. They seem to have like a clinic or a hospital of some kind in Flevens itself, from what we saw in the flashback. And his father, Doflamingo's father, Doflamingo didn't have anything to do with Flevens, for once. But Law's father seemed to be figuring out the way of, like, how to treat the amber lead syndrome, the white lead and everything. He seemed to have, like, figured out a way to, like, fix that. And it's, you take out the bad tissue and the bad blood, and then you replace it with healthy tissue and healthy blood, which is basically what Law ended up doing once he got his hands on the Appa Appa no Mi, he was able to then, literally basically do what he did to the children on Punk Hazard and like slice himself up and like use his powers to like remove the bad parts, remove the infected pieces of, pull out like the Amber Lead out of his system, and then just like dispose of it. Whatever he did with that, we don't know. Maybe there's just like a random pile of Amber Lead abandoned on like the island that he was on, and like he buried it very far into the earth so no one else would ever find it. But it's like, this thing has caused me so much problem, it's gonna get buried into the earth. I don't know. But he was able to use that based on what he like knew from what his father had explained, and from just like the other research that he'd done during the time frame that he was with the Doflamingo, with the Don Quixote family, with the pirates. But what we see with Law's parents is that they're very nurturing and very loving of their children. They're very devoted and everything to their children, and they want their children to have a very happy childhood. And in regards to their relationship, it probably was basically just like, your standard couple romance, not necessarily a One Piece standard couple romance, but just like a standard romance where it's just like, oh, well, they probably like either they both grew up in Flevence, or they, got to know each other while in medical school or something like that. And, supported each other. And like after they graduated, they got married, and then they had their 2 children. And supported Law into wanting him to become a doctor because he seemed to be a prodigy at the time. And that was probably the case for all intents and purposes. It was basically just standard thing of, oh, we met while we were in college, and then we got married after we graduated medical school, or while we were still in medical school, because we never get their names and we never get the ages of Law's parents as far as I'm aware. I looked, I don't think I saw anything in regards to how old they were. And maybe that'll be something that maybe someone will ask Oda in an SBS of like, how old were Law's parents and like what were their names, type of thing maybe. But the 2 of them did die together. They were unfortunately killed when the hospital that they ran was like raided by the military that was coming in to exterminate everyone within Flevence. They the 2 of them were killed together, and of course seeing what happened with them is kind of one of the things that like broke Law, snapped him, made Law snap. Not that I blame him in the slightest. That is not an easy thing to deal with. He's his sister's dead and his parents are dead, and then he saw that what's everything that's happening around him, and then as he stated, how did you get out of there? I hid in a pile of corpses that were being taken over the border. Oh, that's fun. That's disturbing on so many levels, and I am so sorry, Law. But his parents, it's the whole thing of like, if there is whatever form of an afterlife in One Piece. We saw the Grim Reaper recently in the chapters, so maybe there is an afterlife for all we know. And like Brook kind of, he was kicked out of the afterlife, so that kind of, yeah, there is an afterlife of some kind. But Law's parents may be like, okay, he's doing good. He's trying to do what he can to help people and everything, and they're like reunited. Maybe his parents and Doflamingo's parents have like tea every now and then to like discuss their children. Maybe, I don't know. That would be a very odd tea party. Then again, there's always there's like fan art that people have drawn of like all the people that like the Straw Hats have lost, or that the different characters have lost, together, like in like the afterlife, like Belmere and Saul and like Ace at this point in time, and like Whitebeard to a degree, but like Bonchina and Kuina and Yorkie and Tom and like some of the other Dr. Hiriluk and such. And like for Sanji, it would be his mother. A different one that, different ones that they've lost over the years, like having them together and like seeing, them watching over their children or their siblings or whatever, or their friends in the case of some of them, as they go on this journey. And it's not like you can communicate with the afterlife. I guess the closest thing we have to that is Brook using his soul powers in order to, make things freeze around him when he's, battling, when he's fighting and everything. So we'll see what happens, but I don't particularly think we're going to get any more information on Law's parents unless someone asks in an SBS. Maybe I should write an SBS to Oda and be like, hey, random girl from Nebraska would like to know. What are Law's parents' names? How old were they when they died? What's Doflamingo's mother's name? And how old were his parents when they died? And then moving on to the last couple that I have on this list, which is one of the members of this couple is still alive, but the other one is not. We have Hirogoro of the Flower and his wife. So Hirogoro is, of course, one of the former kind of Yakuza leaders within Wano. Currently, he is very much an ally of the Straw Hats. He's currently at Onigashima, or at the time of recording this, he's currently at Onigashima, having recovered from the Ice Oni virus. And I think the last I saw of him at the moment that I'm recording this is like him and Kawamatsu were like, was it Kawamatsu? May have been Kawamatsu, that was discussing the fact that, Zoro very much reminds them of like Ryuma and of the other members of the Shimbosuke clan. Which, I'm not going to touch the Zoro thing with a 10-foot pole right now, in regards to alive, dead, very badly injured, possible descendant of Ryuma. We don't know. There's 400 years difference there. It's a possibility. But what we see with Hirogoro's past is that like he has this whole past, of course, because he's like in his 60s, I want to say 60s, 70s. I don't think he's in his 80s, but he's up there. Like he's he's either around Garp and like Sengoku's age, or just like a little bit younger than like Garp and Sengoku. So he's like within, that, not in his prime anymore, but he can still kick your butt if you make him angry. Which of course he's the one that teaches Luffy about, Ryuo and the flowing Sakura and like how to use that and everything with, Luffy is currently using in his fight against Kaido. But from what we understand from Hirogoro's past is that he was, the head of this Yakuza family, and he had him and his wife were very good friends of Oden, and that they would give him advice at times. And his wife seems to be rather pretty and everything, and she's like, she's unfortunately dead now. I'll get to that, but they seem to be these people that like Oden would go to for like advice at times. And, Hirogoro seemed to very much love his wife, because what happened was 20 years ago, probably like just after everything happened between the fight between Oden and Kaido, we know that Orochi and Kaido were like rounding up a bunch of the Yakuza to try to make them bend the knee, Yakuza and the Daimyo, to like make them bend the knee to serve Kaido and to swear allegiance to Kaido and Orochi. But, we know that Hirogoro did not want to do this. And in regards to being against that, he was thrown in jail. But we also know, if I remember correctly, was that one of the reasons that Oden finally went against Kaido, why he, stopped dancing on the streets naked, gathered up the 9 red scabbards, and they headed to go and battle Kaido and his crew, was that Hirogoro's wife, again, we never get a name for her, was captured. And she was captured by Orochi's men, and they killed her. And that this is what, spurred Oden into going after Kaido, because, him and Orochi like killed this, innocent woman who had done nothing against them to a degree. Okay, her husband was a Yakuza, but she herself had done nothing to them. And like this was also just one of Oden's friends in general. And I'm pretty sure that Hirogoro was like distraught with what happened with losing his wife. My grandfather lost my grandmother several years back, and she'd been going downhill, unfortunately, but it still is not an easy thing to do. It's never an easy thing when you lose someone that you love, regardless of the circumstances of it. And this was like she was ripped away from Hirogoro. And you know, he's kind of, I think Hirogoro at this point in time is like, he's prepared to die. He was prepared to die when he got infected with the Oni virus, with the Ice Oni virus. He was prepared to die when they went to Onigashima at the time frame, because he's just like, most of the scabbard, pretty much the scabbards, the Yakuza, the samurai that are helping them are just like, screw it. We don't care that we're probably going to die in the midst of this battle. We are going to dive headlong into going into Onigashima, and we are going to take out as many of Kaido's men, as many of the Beast Pirates, as many of the Tobiropo, as many of Kaido and Orochi's, goons and minions as possible. Because if we can get rid of a bunch of them, then the Straw Hats and the Scabbards can then go and like deal with Kaido and the Tobiropo and the Calamities and everything, and take care of them. And they're all prepared to die at this point in time. And I'm pretty sure that we know that Chopper was able to heal Hirogoro from his from the Ice Oni virus when he cured everybody in the hall from it, but and then punched out Queen, which was just great. Sanji's one that finished Queen up, but Chopper got a couple of good hits in there as well. But what we see, of course, is Hirogoro. I'm pretty sure that he's prepared to die, and he's ready to go and like see his wife again, because it's been 20 years since she was taken from him and then killed by Orochi. And I don't think it's going to turn out to be that, oh, she wasn't actually killed, she's been like in prison this entire time. No. She, physically labor, she probably can't, she didn't seem to be a fighter. Nothing against her, but she didn't seem to be a fighter, in regards to that, the way that like Toki didn't quite seem to be a fighter. She at least had probably some skill with a sword, but she didn't seem to be like a fighter in and of herself. Like, she can defend herself a little bit, but for the most part, she's not going to be able to like handle going up against Kaido. But Hirogoro's wife didn't seem to be a fighter. She seemed to be very wise, and like, Oden seemed to like go to her and Hirogoro for advice and such. And maybe that'll be something that we get down the line. Like, maybe Hirogoro will have like another flashback. Like, if he gets like another injury at some point, it might be like, oh, he's not going to make it out of this battle. He may be one of the ones that dies. But, and he'll like, get a bunch, like maybe he'll take one more injury, like protecting one of the Straw Hats or something like that. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But like, maybe he'll get another injury and maybe he might die in the course of the battle. And like, it'll be like, oh, like his final memories are like Oden and like his wife and everything. And like, just seeing a little bit more of that. But he doesn't seem to be in immediate danger, so I don't necessarily think something's going to happen with Hirogoro, but I could be wrong about that. Give or take when this comes out compared to when it was recorded and what may happen in that time frame. But as I said, these couples are all either one or both of the people in the marriage or relationship are dead, and all three of these are like canonically married couples. I could also technically have put, Yasopp and Bachina in this list, but I already did them. And same thing with Scarlet and Kyros, but again, they already got their own video. So there's like a couple of other couples that could qualify for this, and I possibly also could have used like, Shindri and Hogback, but they got their own video. And the next video that I'm going to do in this series is going to be about unhealthy love. So this is kind of more, I did like the horror of love in regards to the way that like Hogback treats Shindri, which I did, several months ago. This one is going to be, the next one is going to be more about unhealthy relationships. And that's going to focus on Viola and Doflamingo, and then Judge and Sora, so Sanji's parents. I'm going to focus on those relationships in the next video. I couldn't think of any others, but I'm going to double check to see if I just come up with any other couples that qualify for that. But as far as I can think of, I can't think of any others. I do have two other ideas for videos that I want to do for this series. One of them is not about an actual canon couple, but they are so adorable and they kind of act like a couple anyway. And it's just to put it out there, it is Leo and Mashiri. and I may just do a video about them, about their relationship, just because they're adorable. And then the other one is, with this one, I was trying to stick mostly to just canon couples. And, they were meant to be married, so maybe I will do a video about Pudding and Sanji in regards to, like, that relationship that we see with them. Also, they're bringing up the Germa's Heartless Voyage, or whatever it is right now, is like the cover story of the manga. And, like, we saw Pudding in one of the chapter covers, so maybe we might see Pudding again. We might get a little bit more information on, like, what Pudding's been doing in Totland at the moment. So maybe I'll do a video about that. But then I was also doing, like, I might just do, like, a video about, like, romance in One Piece, and the fact that, like, oh, like, the first chapter of One Piece is called Romance Dawn and everything. And, it's not about love of someone else, like you're in love with someone else. It's romance of the adventure of One Piece. And I might do a video about that, just, like, in regards to, like, oh, these people are not canonically together by any means, but, Luffy and, like, his romance with adventure. I might just do a video about that. So that's what I have here. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you have a nice rest of your day. Bye!
I didn't think things would turn out this bad. I was too naive. Please do something. Anything. Could you at least take my children and wife back to Marie-Joie?